Texas Math Mundo audience, let's do some math. Today the topic is order of operations. Just a few words about order of operations. You know, oftentimes I get tagged by ex-students on Facebook with these Mickey Mouse order of operation problems, and it disturbs me a little bit because they tag me and now people know that they were my students and they don't know order of operations. That's just a little funny to me. I've often witnessed, the idea of PEMDAS or GEMDAS or whatever form of that you want to teach it. That's often a source of knockdown, drag-out fights in the teachers' lounge, in the math teachers' lounge, because I've seen teachers that are adamantly against teaching PEMDAS. Others are in favor. I really don't have an opinion. I guess I'm in favor of it. That's the way I was taught. But I guess there is some pitfalls in teaching PEMDAS, because a lot of times they think multiplication comes before division and addition before subtraction, when that's not the case. They have the same priority as you travel from left to right. For order of operation problems, as simple as you might believe they could be, oftentimes my newer students, they get tripped up with the factorial. They've never really encountered factorial in their mathematical journey until they see it oftentimes in a math class or in a competitive math setting. Because they've never taken probability, and sometimes they'll only take probability if they happen to take stats and that probability section under the stats course. So the factorial button and the factorial function are often new to a lot of starters in competitive UIL mathematics, and so that's usually a source of confusion for them. That's quickly resolved after a few examples. So in order to solve the order of operation problems, I resort to something called the triangle method. That is, if you're going to do it by hand and for instructional purposes, one operation at a time or so, until you end up at a single point, creating an inverted triangle with the solution at the tip at the bottom. So that's what it is. So, and also, since it is an order of operation problem, there are a couple of variant types. Sometimes they ask you to evaluate the expression. Other times they ask you to solve for an equation. But both can be put into the calculator. And just for completeness sake, I do show you how to evaluate the expression or solve the equation using the TI Inspire, just for completeness sake. Let me stop a moment and say, if you enjoy this material, please take a moment and hit the subscription button and the notification bell. Smash that like button and leave a comment below. Order of operations problem, right ahead. My name is Saul Cantu, and this is Texas Math Mundo. All right, Texas Math Mundo audience, let's get our math on. This is a order of operation problem. This is actually from UIL B, the year 2021, number 1. And many of my students, this is pretty easy order of operations usually. However, some of my freshmen, sophomore, or people who have not taken any probability, perhaps they struggle with the factorial, or they're just unfamiliar with the factorial. So the factorial, we should note, is just the product up to that number. So I believe that 0 factorial is defined as 1. 1 factorial is defined as 1. 2 factorial is defined as 2 times 1, which is equal to 2. 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1, which is equal to 6. 4 factorial is equal to 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is equal to 24, and so forth. In fact, for the number sense contest, it's not a bad idea to actually to memorize these. But I just wanted to do that because a lot of my students, the first time they take a general math contest, they'll encounter a factorial, and they are a little bit confused with it because they just simply haven't seen the notation before. Once they see the notation, it's really rather simple. Now, a second thing, where does that factorial fall when we talk about PEMDAS or GEMDAS? Generally speaking, the factorial is right behind the parentheses and before the exponent as far as priority is concerned. And so let me go ahead and do this order of operations. Notice this sort of order of operation prompt says to evaluate. So we're going to evaluate using the triangle method just for instructional purpose. The triangle method involves doing a step at a time, and thereby leading down to a vertex point as an inverted triangle. So let's take a look at our problem. We'll also consider using a calculator because it is an order of operation problem after all, so we should be able to use our calculator. So we have 1 plus 1 squared inside of parentheses, that quantity factorial divided by 3 minus 5 times 8 plus 13. All right, so let's work one step at a time here. We got that 1 plus 1, which is 2. 2 squared is 4. So we end up with 4 factorial divided by the 3 minus the 5 times 8 plus 13. Now 4 factorial has priority over all these other operations. And so 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24. So our problem is 24 divided by 3 minus 5 times 8 plus 13. All right, and so multiplication and division have the same priority as we travel from left to right. That's one of the issues with PEMDAS. People see multiplication before division, but they have the same priority as well as subtraction and addition. So continuing in this way, 24 divided by 3, that's 8. And minus 5 times 8, that's 40. Plus 13. 8 minus 40, that would be a negative 32. Plus 13, that leads to a negative 19 answer. Negative 19. And our answer is B. The reason I call this the triangle method is that as you do a few steps at a time, down by down, it actually creates an inverted triangle. So that's just doing the step by step, one step at a time. All right, so that's order of operations. Like I say, most people find some of the new students are just unfamiliar with the factorial symbol. Otherwise, it's pretty easy. Of course, this is the kind of problem that as you get more proficient at these order of operation problems, you can just do all kinds of shortcuts and do them rather quickly. You can also use your calculator. So let's go ahead and take a moment. It'll be an interesting exercise to use our calculator. In particular, we'll see where that factorial button is on TI Inspire. All right, so we'll go to the scratch pad, and we're going to put in our expression. Now, the square brackets usually means you're going to enter some sort of matrix onto the TI Inspire. So I just use 2 sets of parentheses. So 2 sets of parentheses. I have 1 plus 1. Right arrow to get out of that first parentheses. I'm going to square it. Right here, that square button. And I'm going to right arrow beyond that. And then to get the factorial button, you go right here to the lower right. There's that, I think it's a question mark factorial button. And we'll hit that factorial. Boom. Factorial. Then we go divided by 3 minus 5 times 8 plus 13. And pushing enter should arrive at our negative 19 answer. And we push enter, and indeed it is negative 19. So that is how you'd use the calculator to punch in the order of operation prompts. Usually it's probably just much faster to do it in your head and get it done. All right, so order of operations, that was problem number 1 from UIL B, the year 2021. Okay, onward. So this is a variation on the order of operation problems. The first problem we did said to evaluate an expression. And that's what we did. The second problem, however, is an order of operation problems, but it's embedded within a solving an equation problem. So it says solve for K, but the problem amounts to order of operations as it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at this expression. We have a 1, oops, let me make sure I got my pen going. 1 plus 3 quantity squared divided by 4 factorial minus 5 times k plus 7 equals 8. All right, so let's take a look at this step by step. We'll reduce the problem. 1 plus 3, that's 4 squared. And that 4 squared is 16. That's inside the parentheses. Divided by 4 factorial, we just did, is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's 24. Minus 5k plus 7 equals 8. And so we have 16 divided by 24, which has a common factor of 8. And so it becomes 2/3 minus 5k plus 7 equals 8. Let's go ahead and subtract 7 from both sides. So 2/3 minus 5k is equal to 1. Subtract 2/3 from both sides, and a negative 5k is equal to 1/3. 1 minus 2/3, which is 1/3. Multiply both sides by negative 1/5. Multiply both sides by negative 1/5, canceling on the left-hand side, and we get k is equal to a negative 1/15. All right, k is equal to negative 1/15, and the answer is D. All right, so that's just simply order of operations. Again, familiarity with the factorial function is necessary, and that's what usually throws kids off. This is a variation in the sense that we're actually solving an equation. The previous problem was just an evaluating expression. Now, of course, we could put this in our TI Inspire, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me put this in our TI Inspire, in the solver, in fact. I'm going to put it in the solver for illustrative purposes. So let's go ahead and put this in the solver. What I'm going to do is, first of all, it's going to help if you put your calculator in exact mode instead of approximate mode, because if it's in approximate mode, it often will give you a decimal approximation to the answer, especially if you got like some sort of irrational number or some continued infinite fraction. So the way you put your calculator in exact mode, you go to Documents, you go to Settings, you go to Document Settings, and let's see, Real Auto Calculation Mode, you're going to want to put on exact. Okay. So now when we solve it, it'll give us the exact answer instead of some sort of decimal approximation. So let's go ahead and solve. We're going to put this in the solver. So we're going to go to Menu, Algebra, and then Solve. And we're going to enter this. So we're going to enter the first parentheses, 1 plus 3 quantity squared, 1 plus 3, that quantity squared, divided by 4 factorial, divided by 4, then we find the factorial button down here to the lower right, 4 factorial, minus 5 times k, and you can actually just use k if you want, so k, plus 7 equals, and we find that equals button right here, 8. And you got to tell the calculator what variable to solve for, so I put comma k. And you push enter, and you should get k equals negative 1/15 as we did before. So it's a real simple matter to put it in the calculator, but for time purposes, it's probably much simpler just to do it quickly by hand. So that's how you can use your calculator to do this order of operation problems. Again, probably most kids are not familiar with the factorial button. It's located right there in the lower left, that question mark factorial arrow button. And there you go, nice and simple. So that's our treatment of order of operations. I hope you enjoyed that. Take care and farewell. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed that treatment of order of operations. Let me make sure that I take a moment and thank UIL for allowing me to use their problems on my YouTube channel. That really helps to be able to point to specific UIL problems, and I think it adds meaning to my discussion. So thank you, UIL. I appreciate that. Also, let me take a moment to say, if you enjoy this sort of content, please hit the subscription button and the notification bell, smash that like button, and leave a comment below. Please make sure that you contact me if you'd like to see any sort of problems done. If you have a more efficient way to look at the problems, please make a comment below. I really appreciate your support. My name is Saul Cantu, and this is Texas